The town of Alder Creek sat quietly between rolling hills and stretches of farmland, the kind of place where everyone knew each other and life moved at a gentle, predictable pace. Surrounded by forests that seemed endless and roads that wound lazily through fields, it was a town where people rarely locked their doors and where danger felt like something that existed only in distant headlines. With a population barely reaching a few thousand, Alder Creek thrived on its sense of community. Families had lived there for generations, and traditions were passed down with pride. It was the sort of place where children grew up believing the world was safe. Among those children was 18-year-old Tara Vance, a bright and warm-hearted girl who had recently graduated from high school. Born alongside her twin sister Clara, Tara had always been known for her cheerful nature and her ability to make others feel at ease. She had a natural kindness that drew people toward her, and her smile was something many in town associated with comfort and familiarity. While Clara tended to be more reserved, Tara was outgoing and expressive, often filling the room with laughter. Tara had a deep love for music. Throughout her school years, she had been actively involved in various music groups, especially jazz and blues ensembles, where her talent truly shined. Whether she was practicing late into the evening or performing in front of a crowd, music was her escape and her passion. Those close to her believed she had the potential to pursue it further, though Tara herself was still uncertain about what path she wanted to take after graduation. That summer had been one of transition. With school behind her, Tara found herself standing at the edge of adulthood, unsure of what came next. She had recently begun taking driving lessons, a small but significant step toward independence. At the same time, she spent much of her time with friends, trying to hold on to the carefree days they all knew were slipping away. She was also in a relationship with a young man named Dylan, someone she cared deeply about. Their bond had grown steadily over time, built on trust and shared experiences. For Tara, Dylan represented a sense of stability during a period filled with uncertainty. As October approached, the air in Alder Creek turned crisp, and the leaves shifted into shades of orange and gold. Halloween had always been a cherished time in the town, especially for younger residents. But for Tara and her friends, this particular Halloween held special meaning. It was to be their final celebration together before life inevitably pulled them in different directions. They decided they would go out one last time, revisiting the childhood tradition of trick-or-treating. It was meant to be a symbolic farewell to their younger years, a night of laughter, costumes, and nostalgia. Tara embraced the idea wholeheartedly. She even reached out to friends online, asking for opinions on what costume she should wear. After some playful debate, she settled on dressing as a zombie, complete with makeup that gave her a dramatic, eerie look. On the evening of October 31st, Tara prepared for the night ahead. She planned to meet her friend Zoe first, and then together they would head to Dylan's house, where the rest of the group would gather. Everything seemed perfectly normal, filled with the excitement that comes with anticipation. At around 5:45, Tara left her house. She let Zoe know she was on her way and continued messaging her as she walked through the quiet streets. The town was beginning to come alive with Halloween activity, children in costumes, families decorating their homes, and laughter echoing in the distance. As Tara walked, she decided to take a shortcut she had used many times before. The path ran alongside a set of railway tracks, a route locals often used to save time. It was familiar and, in her experience, safe. A few minutes later, she sent another message. This time, something felt different. Her words were rushed, uneven, as though typed in a hurry. She mentioned that someone was behind her. It was a brief message, but enough to cause concern. Zoe tried to respond immediately, asking what she meant, but there was no reply. From that moment on, Tara vanished. Zoe attempted to call her, but the calls went unanswered. Dylan tried as well, growing increasingly worried with each failed attempt. What had started as a normal evening quickly turned into something far more unsettling. Time passed slowly, each minute stretching longer than the last. By the time nearly 2 hours had gone by, Tara's mother had also begun trying to reach her. alerted by Zoe that something wasn't right. Then, unexpectedly, someone answered Tara's phone. The voice on the other end belonged to a stranger who claimed to have found the device near the railway tracks. Panic set in immediately. Tara's family rushed toward the area, joined by friends who had already begun searching. The once lively Halloween evening now felt tense and uncertain. The darkness seemed heavier, the silence more oppressive. Before authorities even arrived, those searching the area noticed something off to the side of the tracks. About 10 feet into a patch of bushes, there was a figure lying motionless. It was Tara. She was severely injured, covered in blood, and unconscious. Though she was still alive, her condition was critical. Emergency services rushed her to the hospital as quickly as possible, but the damage was extensive. Despite efforts to save her, Tara passed away the following morning. The news spread quickly through Alder Creek, sending shockwaves through the community. The idea that something so violent could happen in a place they had always considered safe was almost impossible to comprehend. Fear replaced comfort, and questions filled the air. Authorities confirmed that Tara's death was a homicide, but details were scarce. Investigators began working immediately, searching for any clue that could lead them to the person responsible. They spoke to residents, hoping someone might have seen or heard something unusual that night. One neighbor reported hearing a scream, but at the time, she had assumed it was part of Halloween festivities. It was a chilling realization that what she had heard may have been Tara's final moments. As the investigation unfolded, another unsettling development emerged. A letter was sent to authorities by an individual or group claiming responsibility for the crime and threatening further violence. The message was deeply disturbing, suggesting that Tara's death might not be an isolated incident. However, upon closer examination, investigators found inconsistencies in the letter. Details did not align with the facts of the case, leading them to believe it was likely a hoax. Even so, the existence of such a message added to the fear already gripping the town. With no immediate suspects, the case began to stall. The only significant piece of evidence came from beneath Tara's fingernails. During the attack, she had fought back, leaving behind DNA that investigators hoped would identify her attacker. Unfortunately, processing such evidence took time, and answers did not come quickly. In the weeks that followed, rumors began to spread. Stories of other incidents, whispers of danger lurking in the area, and growing anxiety among residents created an atmosphere of unease. Authorities worked to dispel misinformation, confirming that no other cases were connected. But fear persisted. People began taking extra precautions. Parents kept a closer watch on their children, and many avoided walking alone at night. The sense of security that had once defined Alder Creek was gone. Investigators continued to appeal to the public, urging anyone with information to come forward. They also focused on Tara's communications, hoping that her messages might provide clues about her final movements or the person who had followed her. Behind the scenes, forensic teams worked tirelessly to process the DNA evidence. When the results finally came back, they revealed something unexpected and deeply concerning. The DNA did not match anyone in local records. Instead, it was linked to two previous crimes. The first case dated back several years and involved a violent assault in a nearby city. The second was an attempted attack that had occurred even earlier, where the victim had managed to escape. In both cases, the suspect had not been identified. Now, it appeared that the same individual was responsible for all three incidents. This revelation changed everything. What had once seemed like a single, tragic event was now part of a larger pattern. The realization that a dangerous individual had been active for years, undetected, intensified the urgency of the investigation. Authorities released a description based on previous reports. The suspect was believed to be a white male, of average height with a heavy build, and likely in his mid to late 20s. Additional details included distinct facial features that witnesses had remembered. The public response was immediate. Tips began pouring in, with hundreds of people reporting individuals who matched the description. Each lead had to be carefully investigated, requiring time and resources. Amid the flood of information, one name began to surface repeatedly. It was a man who lived in a small, remote community not far from Alder Creek. And as investigators looked closer, they began to realize that this could be the break they had been waiting for. The name that kept appearing in multiple tips belonged to a man living in a quiet, isolated settlement deep in the forested valleys outside Alder Creek. His name was Daniel Mercer. To most people who knew him casually, he appeared unremarkable, even forgettable. But those who had interacted with him more closely described someone unstable, withdrawn, and increasingly unpredictable over time. He had a history of conflicts with neighbors, sudden disappearances, and an inability to maintain steady employment. As investigators began gathering information, they quickly noticed a troubling pattern. Daniel Mercer had moved frequently over the years, often leaving places abruptly without explanation. Each time he left, he seemed to sever ties completely, leaving behind little trace of where he went next. It was as if he preferred to exist on the edges of society, unseen and unaccounted for. When police arrived at the small rental cabin where he had been staying, they found it empty. The landlord explained that Daniel had left suddenly, asking only for his deposit and showing little concern for the belongings he left behind. Everything inside the cabin remained untouched, as though he had planned to return but never did. This raised immediate suspicion. Further questioning of the landlord revealed that shortly after Daniel's departure, an older man later identified as his father had come to collect his remaining possessions. The father claimed Daniel had left for work in another province, having secured a sudden employment opportunity. However, investigators found inconsistencies in this story. The timing was too convenient, and the urgency of the departure did not match what they knew of the case. The father's background also drew attention. He had a long criminal history, including fraud-related offenses and periods of incarceration stretching back decades. This made investigators question whether he might be assisting his son in evading capture. With no physical evidence in the cabin itself, police turned to forensic options. They collected discarded items from the property, including cigarette butts left in an outdoor ashtray. These samples were sent for DNA testing, hoping they might provide a match to the evidence collected from Tara's fingernails. While waiting for results, investigators expanded their search. They tracked phone activity connected to the father, believing he might unknowingly lead them to Daniel. What they discovered was a pattern of short, encrypted, or prepaid phone calls between the two, often routed through temporary numbers. Each time they believed they were close, the trail would go cold again. Then, a new lead emerged from an unexpected source. A former acquaintance of the father came forward, revealing that he had been asked to provide false identity documents in exchange for money. According to this witness, Daniel Mercer had assumed a new identity under a different name, complete with identification numbers and basic financial tools. This explained why standard tracking methods had failed. Investigators now understood they were dealing with someone actively avoiding detection, using false identities to remain invisible. The urgency of the case escalated. Shortly after, the DNA results came back. The match was definitive. The DNA from the cigarette butts matched the sample recovered from beneath Tara's fingernails. The same individual was now linked to multiple violent crimes, confirming what investigators had suspected. They were dealing with a repeat offender responsible for a series of attacks spanning nearly a decade. With this confirmation, a full manhunt was launched. Authorities released updated information to the public, including composite sketches and behavioral patterns. They described the suspect as dangerous, likely unstable, and capable of sudden violence. The warning spread quickly, and the case gained national attention. Despite the growing pressure, Daniel Mercer remained missing. Investigators continued to monitor the father closely, hoping he would eventually lead them to his son. However, the father proved cautious. In recorded conversations, he never directly revealed Daniel's location, and it became clear that he was deliberately avoiding any mention of his son's whereabouts. For weeks, the investigation stalled again. Then, a breakthrough occurred. During one of the monitored phone calls, Daniel unknowingly mentioned a specific industrial site. a glass manufacturing facility located in a rural part of Ontario. It was a small detail, almost insignificant, but for investigators it was enough to narrow their search. Surveillance teams were immediately dispatched to the region. Within days, they located a man matching Daniel Mercer's description working under his assumed identity. After confirming his identity through additional verification, authorities moved in and arrested him without incident. At the same time, his father was also taken into custody for aiding his escape and facilitating the use of false documents. The arrests marked the end of a long and difficult investigation that had spanned multiple years and jurisdictions. During interrogation, Daniel Mercer eventually confessed to his involvement in Tara's death. His account revealed that on the night of the incident, he had been wandering near the railway tracks, under the influence of alcohol and drugs, when he encountered Tara walking alone. He admitted that he followed her with harmful intent, believing she was vulnerable and isolated. According to his statement, he initially approached her and attempted to engage her in conversation. When she became suspicious and tried to leave, the situation escalated rapidly. Tara fought back fiercely when she realized she was in danger, scratching and resisting with everything she had. Daniel described losing control during the struggle. In a panic, he struck her repeatedly, using both physical force and a handheld object he had been carrying. He admitted that his original intention had been to assault her, but her resistance triggered a violent escalation he claimed he could not control. Eventually, realizing the severity of what had happened, he fled the scene, leaving Tara injured near the tracks. Investigators also connected him to two earlier violent incidents, both of which followed a similar pattern of targeting women and escalating when resistance occurred. These revelations confirm that Tara's case was not an isolated tragedy, but part of a longer history of violent behavior that had gone undetected for years. The trial that followed drew significant public attention. The courtroom was filled with emotional testimony from family members, investigators, and forensic experts. Tara's twin sister spoke about the devastating loss, describing the emptiness left behind and the difficulty of imagining life without her. The prosecution presented strong forensic evidence, including DNA matches, phone records, and witness statements. The defense attempted to argue diminished responsibility, citing substance use and emotional instability, but the weight of evidence was overwhelming. Ultimately, Daniel Mercer was found guilty of multiple charges, including first-degree murder, sexual assault, and related violent offenses tied to previous cases. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, with no possibility of parole, for 25 years. His father received a separate sentence for assisting in his evasion and obstructing the investigation. Though less severe, his punishment reflected the critical role he played in helping Daniel avoid capture for an extended period. In the aftermath, Alder Creek struggled to recover. The community had been permanently changed by the tragedy. What once felt like a safe and peaceful town now carried a lingering sense of caution. Families became more protective, and the memory of that Halloween night remained deeply embedded in local history. Tara's story became a reminder of how quickly ordinary moments can turn tragic, and how resilience and resistance in the face of danger can sometimes provide the crucial evidence needed to bring a perpetrator to justice. Though justice was eventually served, the loss remained irreversible. Her family continued to honor her memory through music and community events, ensuring that she would not be remembered only for the way her life ended, but for the brightness and kindness she brought while she was alive.